Humiliation for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle as their own neighbors have turned on them. Welcome to Popcorn Palace. I am Andy Signor, and I'm here with Sue Smith. Welcome back, Sue. I appreciate you always coming in when I do these banked videos. You're always so lovely to come in and help me, so thank you. How you doing, Sue?
I'm doing great, Andy. How are you?
I'm great. I love when you come in here. We always have a fun dialogue, and I wanted to share this with you. I don't think you've heard this either. I wanted to surprise you with a title. But all this week, I'm banking content because I'm out in London. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they're out here in the States. They're in Montecito, right? Well, humiliation for the duo as Montecito locals issued a damning verdict on them. A neighbor has now explained how he was turned away from the front gates of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. You ready for this?
Yes,
neighbors are voicing their opinions living next door to Prince Harry and Meghan, where the high-profile couple live. Duke and Duchess eventually relocated to America, as we know, and they stepped down as royals, but they still pretend to be the royals. One neighbor, though, in particular, a gentleman named Frank McGinty, reportedly felt rejected after being turned away at the gates of the Duke and Duchess's Sussex multi-million-dollar home, and firmly has stated they're not interested in being neighbors. The U.S. Navy veteran, interesting with all, with the Invictus and everything else, you'd think they'd be nice to their Navy, veteran neighbor, Sue, but no. The Navy veteran wanted to lend them some films he had created about the history of the exclusive California enclave and help them settle in. He recounted the brusque encounter with the couple's security team in a new chapter of his memoir, Get Off Your Street, in which he details the residents' experience with the mudslides that devastated the area only a few years ago before the Sussex moved in. But here we go. So he lives in this neighborhood. He's an 88-year-old, and he wrote, the gate guy turned me away and wouldn't take the film. Just said they're not interested. I was trying to be neighborly. If they were interested in the neighborhood, I've got a lot of information. McGinty expressed his surprise learning Meghan and Harry decide to move in, noting the Rivian Rock estate on which they set up their new California home usually attracts older buyers and renters. He claimed, it's surprising they came here. People are typically older. It's where the elephants come to die. Speaking to the Montecito Journal, he added, we don't see them very much around here. Interesting. Another neighbor of Harry and Meghan's, Richard Mayans, told the Telegram he was disappointed he hadn't seen the pair out and about in the area more. Richard mentioned the community is eagerly waiting for them and gnashing at the bit. No, they only go where the celebrities go, right, Sue? They don't go to where the real people, the actual people who live next to you go. No, they won't do that. Look, so interesting, right? I'm not surprised here. I want to get your reaction, but I especially really enjoy that this Navy veteran got denied by the neighbor. Like, look, everyone's got that neighbor who's a little bit of annoying or nosy, or I got a little information. I got one. But you got to be nice to them, right, Sue? You got to be kind to your neighbors, not just kicking them to the curb, especially if they're 88 and veterans of this country. Are you surprised to hear that Harry and Meghan are not being very neighborly?
I am a little surprised because didn't Harry sit and do an interview with Hoda where he said his neighbors had embraced them and they were just loving their neighborhood and their neighbors? Sounds like they haven't met the neighbors.
Good point.
Just saying.
Of course they haven't met the neighbors. Are they going to spend time with the common folk, you think?
Well, considering they're doing all this Netflix series work and they're doing all these, you would think that somebody who has actual footage of, the area where they're living would want to see it because possibly it could be incorporated into what they're filming. They were filming around their house. They could have shown where what the area used to be like. I'm just surprised.
She's making a whole thing about the America Riviera, right? She's obsessed with Montecito, but proof she's a fraud. A fraud. You're right. A person who's creating the American Riviera orchard should want to know the history of said orchard, no?
I would think so, but it's not too late. She can go back and get the film. She's got the guy's name. I'm sure they can locate him.
This guy's dead to them. They wrote a book. Get off your street. Well, I guess they're not in the book. He didn't write the book about them, but still, he's talking to the press. Meghan doesn't like friends who talk to the press. If you talk to the press, you're dead to them.
Unless they approve it, of course.
Exactly. Once they approve it. Look, it's not a surprise. We've seen them do this, but it is a bit of a surprise in that exactly she should want to know the history of this brand she's been a part of, and he's a veteran. There, look, I've been trying to do this story for a while, but it's hard because Sue, I'll tell you, most veterans don't really want to go out there stirring up drama or crapping on people, even if they're not the best people. Most like real veterans are so class act, keep it in, want to focus on their own lane. But man, I have heard some things about how bad Invictus is, that so many people actually in the service don't want to engage because it's such a mess. And they've had to open up the rules as to who can come in because it's been so difficult to actually get some of these service members. So I don't know. Does that surprise you? Have you heard anything else similar?
I did read that Invictus has lost over 2,000 veterans. I read that it's my understanding that Germany Invictus has now splintered off and they're doing their own thing. And I believe the Freedom of Information Act was used to show that before they splintered off, I think it was like, was it 23 or 24%, like a huge amount of money that was donated was used for Harry and Meghan and not the veterans. So I'm not sure why that's happening or being allowed to happen, I should say.
It's a very good question. There's a lot of questions I have just on that whole Archewell company in general. Like, I can't figure out what any of it does. Show up and do good? That makes no sense. You go to their updates and it's just a hodgepodge of random things. Now they're getting into voter registration, which isn't weird in itself. Should they be doing that, Sue? Doesn't that open up a whole can of worms?
Well, the problem is the royal family is supposed to remain apolitical, and Harry can't vote here, and he sees himself as a private citizen. The problem is you can't be a private citizen when it suits you and then run around screaming, I'm the king's son, give me security, when that suits you. You can't have your foot in both camps. You need to pick a camp.
Yep.
He can't pick a camp. And they are I think it's a 5013C charity, which means they're not supposed to get involved in politics, but they are allowed to help with voter registration. That's allowed. But if they find out that they're involved with anything that has to do with a side, they're not allowed to pick a side. If anything picks a side with Archewell, they could lose their tax exempt status. That could be a problem down the road.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I would not be surprised if there's not some serious. I mean, look, none of these things really make sense to me. The whole showing up, do good, just showing up and doing good in Colombia, like that's so broad and vague. Like, what does that mean? You handed out some drums and showed up to a rich school. Like, you didn't actually do the right good, right?
Actually, they have not handed out gums. They have what was it used? Okay, I must be the only person who didn't
drums.
Amber Heard. I didn't watch the Amber Heard trial, but I heard there was something about pledge or give.
Oh, they pledged
the drums, but they have yet to give the drums.
To donate. She didn't donate it. She pledged it.
Thank you. They have not yet been delivered. She has promised the drums, but the drums have not yet been
donated.
I have it right here.
Donated. Not pledged. Donated.
So they didn't donate the drums. They pledged drums and they haven't given them drums?
I don't believe at this time the drums have been delivered yet, because I'm sure if they had been, it would have been in the news.
I mean, I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. All right, I won't go as hard, but we need to keep an eye to make sure those drums get delivered. I agree. I mean, these two are. I got to be careful with my word fraud, because I don't want to be. They're litigious. Like, there does seem to be something fraudulent going on behind the scenes in these, in my opinion. It's a lot of like weird bookkeeping by what I mean. Like, what is this actually doing good? It's such a broad term to show up and do good. It's so vague that they can kind of get away with it. But what is the actual good, Sue? That's what is the money spent on this tax write-off actually better than putting it to somewhere else? Do you know what I mean? That's what I don't believe is possible.
I know what you mean, but the thing is, they set up their company in Delaware, which is a well-known tax haven. And from what I understand, again, they have like 7, 8, 9 companies. And so the money filters from company to company to company, in an attempt to not give Uncle Sam his due, but Uncle Sam will always make sure to get every freaking penny, because if there's two things in this life that are absolutely for certain, it's death and taxes.
Mm-hmm. It's wild, man. We'll see what happens. Always a pleasure, though, to have Sue Smith here. Make sure you're following her on YouTube. Go give her a subscribe. Hit the bell, get alerts. She's always got wonderful takes, always in the know. And you're such a good pal. Thanks for being here, always helping me when I'm on my breaks. Support her, support here, support all my friends and guests that come on the show. We're here to have some fun with you and share some royalty. If you like it, hit the button, join our alerts, and leave your comments down below. Hope I got to catch you in London. I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching here on Popcorn Palace.